So for another video I'm making, I needed a quick sort of dice animation, so I thought I'd go through how I made it quite quickly. So I'm going to go through everything but a couple bits. So pressing numpad 7 brings us to a sort of top-down view, and that's going to be really helpful because what we're wanting to do is align these edges up. And you see what I mean when I'll switch back to camera view in a minute, and you'll see what I mean about what we've done. So you see now how it's sort of orientated towards the Z-axis, and the spinning will look a lot better now. So the way you align it to an axis when you're doing the rotation, you press R and then Z or Y or X, and it just fixes some of the rotation. So now we need to get our sort of base rotation going. I only want 100 frames, I think that'll be fine. Let's turn on auto keyframing and then add a keyframe now. Then we want to go to 100 frames and add in another one, but we want 360 rotation there, and see what happens. Great. So it's sort of doing a nice spin, but it's accelerating and then slowing down, which isn't quite the look I'm going for. I'm wanting something a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these keyframes, press T, and then I'm going to click linear. And this means it doesn't try and ease in, doesn't speed up and then slow down, it just does one constant rate of rotation. And that's what I'm after. So that's great. That's a bit boring. And what I'm after is dice. So I'm going to hop into the UV editing, and you can see it's got the faces unwrapped here. And I'm going to pop onto face view, select a face, and then you can move it around, and you can have your sort of image here, and you can decide what goes on each face. So because I'm making a dice, I'm going to load in a dice texture I've made before, and then unwrap it. There we go. And that's it unwrapped. So if we hop back over here and hop into render view, we will see nothing. And that's fine, because all we've done is created a UV map. We haven't actually loaded it in as a texture. So we need to now select it and hop into the shading workspace. And this is where we're going to do our thing. So use nodes. I'm going to use image texture. And the colour of this is going to be the colour of the material. And currently it's nothing, because we've got nothing selected. So we want to open up the file that we just put in, you know, the one over here, the dice one. We're going to load it in to the image texture. Great. It's loaded in, and you can see it's, you know, it's automatically sort of got the UV map we put in already on. But if you want to be sort of doubly sure, you can add UV map, and then plug that into the vector, and then select that's the UV map we made just a moment ago. Doesn't make too much difference, but this is our node network now. And as you can see, what you've got there is pretty good dice, pretty standard dice, but I think we can make it a little bit more interesting. So what I'm going to do is drop the roughness, which is going to make it a lot more reflective, and I'm probably going to up the transmission a bit, because that's going to make it look a bit weird as well. There we go. So that's just a couple shading settings. Fiddle around as you want. All I'm looking for is a bit of reflectivity because of what we're going to do next. So hop out of the camera view, and what I'm going to do is, so we've got the dice rotating, and that's cool, but I think we can make it a little bit more interesting by making the light rotate around as well. So what I've done there is I've gone Shift A, add, and then I've gone curves, circle, easy, not hard at all. And then I'm pressing S to sort of scale it up a bit, and that's fine. Now we want to add, so we've selected the light, then gone to constraints, and we want it to follow path. And what we're going to follow, well, that would be the circle we've just put in. Now as you can see, it doesn't quite come in as I'd like, and I'm probably sure there's a better way of doing this. But what I do is tend to hop back into orthographic, line it up. Great, so that's alright. And what I'm actually going to do is duplicate the lights, because I've got this idea of 4 of them sort of going around this dice. So I'm just going to raise it up a bit. It doesn't have to be exact because it's lights, they're pretty bright. But what you must do is offset So there's where the light is, and there's the position on the curve. And we want the start of those to be the same, because the position on the curve is going to control how the light is processing around the dice. So we want to make sure the two sort of line up, animate the path, and there we go. Lovely. The lights are now processing around the curve as we'd like, and that's going to create interesting effects as they light up the cube in different ways. Great. I'm going to add 2 more lights in now using the same method. Right, there we go, that's 4 lights in, and if we play, you can see they're all rotating around, but as you can see, it's not amazing. It's just one kind of light. It's just one light, like, it's just white light, and what's interesting about that. But we can actually hop into the light settings, so if we select the light, and we'll do this sequentially, select the light, hop in here, we can make it a bit more interesting. We can change the colour, so we can go, oh, actually this is a red light, and okay, this one can be a blue light, and I'll do that for the others. Great, so that's our colours done. So if we play, you can now see we're starting to get some interesting effects on our cube, and that makes it a lot more interesting to look at, I think. And you can up the power, you can up the power here, and you can change other kind of properties. And then now that you understand how to use curves and animate things going around on curves, it's not hard to get the dice on a curve and other things. So you could set up another curve like so, scale it up a bit, select the dice, constraints, follow path, circle, the new one, see how there's 2 to animate path, and just like that we've now got the dice processing around as well. And this is all about just making quick visuals. And then the way you could expand it even further is to do Shift D on the dice, move out of the way so you can see what you're doing, offset it round to the other side, put the dice back on where it should have been, and then you've got 2 dice, yay, going around with the lights, and you have some interesting visuals, which is nothing to, it's not that amazing, but it's some decent visuals, and that's all we were aiming to do here. And you can expand this so much further, increase the wattage, add more dice, change the rotation, make it 3D rather than 2D in terms of rotation. There's loads of ways to expand this further.